place that set the standard for Vegas fitness. Then came Northwest, near Summerlin, sharing the Fit Club gym culture and vibes across Las Vegas. And the crown jewel, Henderson, a cutting-edge space designed for bodybuilders, competitors, and anyone chasing their best self. Fit Club Las Vegas, now with 3 locations.
We're live. Let's do it. Do you shoot
Tyler Gray in the house.
Yeah, I'm here.
We're going to read a little resume because I'm not sure how to really introduce all the accolades that you have. It's like people coming up to me, they say, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Damn, what do I do?"
I always just say I'm a guy. I'm just a guy.
But I know what you mean. It's like it's a hard question to answer because it's like there's kind of like what I do and what I did, and they're 2 very different things. I feel like everything I did was almost feels like another lifetime.
Well, that you still do. But this is our 4th of July special, so yes. We wanted to do something, I guess, patriotic, American-made, representing all of our big celebration this year. So we wanted to put someone on with a deep resume.
So for those who don't know who you are, I'm going to read a resume, and you can tell me if it's right or wrong.
Okay.
So Army Ranger, Delta Force Sniper, you were wounded in combat, producer, actor. You were Trent Sawyer on the the CBS series SEAL Team. You're in Suicide Squad, Kandahar, in the movie Snitch. You're also an author of the book Forged in Chaos, inventor, and to us Las Vegas residents, you're our neighbor.
Yeah, all that's right except for the defo sniper. I was a Ranger sniper.
Oh, okay.
And then in the unit as an assaulter. So
what's the
only correction?
What's the difference between an assaulter and a sniper for those of us who don't?
It's just different jobs. An assaulter would be someone, assaulting houses, kicking in doors, assaulting on the target, whereas obviously a sniper, you're generally offset, further away from the target, more supporting rather than assaulting.
Is there one that did you prefer one to the other?
Man, that's a really good question. I liked them both for completely different reasons. Being a sniper, so I was a sniper on my first deployment in Afghanistan. What I liked about that job is it is unmasterable. There was so many different skills that you would never be a true master of all of them. Literally, not in 2 lifetimes, because you had all the shooting stuff, which is really its own. You could, spend a lifetime and never be a true master at that. And then add in all the field skills for we had to learn digital cameras, photography for reconnaissance. So then there was, building hide sites and the field skills. And, it was a job where, and then calling for fire and controlling air assets and calling for freaking naval gunfire. There were so many different skill sets that went into that job that it was unmasterable, and I like that about it. Being an assaulter, though, there's, it was a bigger thrill going in off into targets, off the roof or off the helo. That was a much bigger adrenaline rush. So that was probably my preference, but both were great for different ways.
Just hear that out. What goes to your head when you hear that?
I was thinking I've started to think what's an ego, as far as what brings excitement, right? Some people just, they're I played football in high school, right? And it was getting on the field and going at it. And then, I found bodybuilding, which, the stage brought me the rush, but the gym was that's the kind of the groundwork, right?
Yeah.
But then when you got to the stage, it's like, oh shit, I'm kind of displaying the whole thing now, right? This is what I worked a year for. My competitions were usually a year.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is, we talk about these accolades and your position, but do you wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do in my life? When do you make that decision of how, what got you into it like that?
So for me, the way people ask me, why did you join? That's a relatively common question. And for me, I don't feel like I ever had a choice. I feel like it was just something that I had to do. I don't feel like I chose it. I feel like it chose me. You know, as a kid, I mean, I literally, I'll send you pictures, you know, me dressing up every day, going to school in full camouflage. You know, I was that kid. And, you know, I would go to the air shows, or if I saw like a military vehicle driving down the road, I'd go bananas. And, you know, this is, you know, single digit age. Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, sorry, that was just what I liked, you know. And I remember very clearly seeing First Blood when it came out. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but it's true. And I remember watching First Blood, and, you know, him going crazy against the sheriff at the end. And, you know, First Blood's about PTSD, right? And I remember seeing First Blood and watching that and him going crazy and being like, I want PTSD. You know, like, I want to be crazy like that. But there was a reason, and we're joking and laughing about it now. But now looking back, I realized there was a reason for it. And the reason was because I was picked on and, you know, beat up and bullied so much. I wanted to be feared. You know, I thought respect was fear. And so when I looked at Rambo, I was like, I want to be feared like that. And I want to be, I want to be respected like that. And at the time, I wasn't able to separate respect from fear. I thought that's what respect was.
And where were you growing up at this time?
In Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
So not, you know, 4 hours from us right now, really.
We don't just fight insurance companies, we train for it. If you want results, get a lawyer that puts in the work. 107. Do you trust a lawyer that doesn't train? 102. Or a lawyer that quits when it gets tough. Pacific West Injury Law. We're built to win.
I think all of us loved Rambo as we were growing
Well,
up.
I mean, people forget about First Blood. You know, they think about, you know, I don't know how many times they remade.
Yeah, many. I think it was like
They
six.
had one
Rambo
not
3,
a couple years ago. Another one.
Yeah. And obviously, like, it's kind of funny because, you know, I watched Stallone in Rocky IV. That was like, gave me. People always thought bodybuilding gave me a motivation, but it was the actors like Van Damme and Stallone were my two heroes.
Yeah.
Which really didn't have a lot to do with bodybuilding. They just had a physique. And obviously you trained, you know, I mean, I know you follow bodybuilding. So, but, you know, when you look back at that, you know, having that mindset, like you said, you kind of had no choice. And, you know, you just probably didn't join a service I grew up in a service background also. My whole family was Army, right? Did you have family that were in the military? I grew up on bases.
Yeah.
So like I thought about it, but it was kind of weird because, you know, my dad served in the Korean War, my brother was in the Army, and my stepfather was actually served in the Army. So I spent a lot of time with my mom in the military base. And I loved the structure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that they pushed upon me and said, hey, this is what you should do. Sometimes I feel like the family, hey, you need to straighten out. Like my brother needed to straighten out. He served in the Army.
Yeah.
Like right out of high school. So is that something you chose right out of high school to pursue, or?
Well, so when I was a kid, the things I wanted to do, the big ones were, you know, be an Army Special Operations. I wanted to be a Green Beret from First Blood Rambo. And then the second thing I wanted to do was work in film. And I kind of also because of Rambo, I lived my life vicariously at that time. I wanted to escape the present when I was a kid. So I escaped it through movies. And so I wanted to work in film and TV. And so when I got out, when I got out of high school, the first thing I did, I was in Bakersfield, which for those that don't know is an hour and a half north of LA. So I moved to LA and tried to work in the film industry. What's crazy is I didn't even know what I wanted to do in the film industry at that time. You know, I was like, I didn't know anyone. I had no knowledge, no degree, I didn't even go to a one-day film school, nothing. And I move out there and I start, you know, trying to, I think of the shit that I did. I mean, I would cold call people and be like, hey, I'll come work for you for free. I just want to learn.
That's kind of what you do. I mean,
yeah, well, everyone told me to, you know, basically F off. But I was serious. I would have done it. But then there's unions, you know, and it's way more complicated than that. And at a certain point, I realized, I'm like, this Hollywood thing is going to take a little bit longer than I thought. And somehow, as a, you know, by that time, I think 19-year-old kid, I figured out that, you know, if I don't do the military now, I'll never do it. And so I decided to join. I literally joined out of the Hollywood recruiting office to the Army, and I went in there and I said I wanted to be a Green Beret, and they're like, great, no. There was no what's called an 18 X-ray contract now, didn't exist back then. So I said, look, what's the hardest thing that you can guarantee me a chance for? And they said, Ranger Battalion. I'm like, sold. And I signed up and went.
What's the difference between Ranger Battalion and Green Beret, for those that don't know?
For those that don't know, there's a lot. But when you come down to units, at least special operations units, special operations units, AKA special forces. When you're talking about special operations, the word special is important because each unit is created for a special mission. They're created for a purpose, right? And so Ranger Battalion was created for direct action assaults, basically raids, ambushes, things like that. Special forces, or I should say Green Berets, were created for what's called FID, Foreign Internal Defense. That would be, you go to, at least in Vietnam when they were created or prior to Vietnam. So they went to Vietnam, trained the South Vietnamese to fight against the NVA and the North Vietnamese. And so that's kind of more of the Green Beret mission, is to train armies to fight against dictatorships or whatever. It's basically to train guerrilla fighters. And for me, I was happy I went to Ranger Battalion because I like the direct action assault mission.
So is this something that after you get through basic training, do you go to that, or do you have to test out, what's the process? Because I'm assuming not anybody can just go do it.
So the most important thing is to have a contract that guarantees you the opportunity to try. And that's what I had. I had the contract that guaranteed me the opportunity. It was called RIP at that time, Ranger Indoctrination Program. So I had a contract that guaranteed me the chance to get to that course to see if I made it. So it's really important that you have the contract you want when you join, or they'll screw you. They're the military. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never heard of that until right now. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people don't know that now, but back then, dude, there was no social media. Now I get kids asking me, stuff on social media. Hey, I want to join, and they ask me questions. Back then, dude, there was no really internet. It was like AOL at that time, chat rooms, but you couldn't ask somebody if you didn't have a relative that had joined or whatever. There was no one to ask. So I don't know, to be honest, how I knew. I don't know. I just knew that I
must have
needed,
researched enough.
Yeah, I guess I did, but to be honest, I don't remember doing it. I just knew that I wasn't gonna leave without the contract I wanted.
So you had the film idea, and you said, okay, I got to do this mission before commit yourself to.
Yeah.
And what was your term at that point? Was it a 4-year?
Yeah, it was a
commitment?
4-year contract at that time. Yeah. So I went through the, the Ranger pipeline, which was basic training, airborne school, then RIP, the Ranger Indoctrination Program. They changed the name, probably because that sounded a little aggressive. That school at that time was literally, they just, crushed the shit out of you. And if you didn't quit, you made it.
It's okay if it sounds aggressive. It's the military.
Yeah. I agree with you, but softer, gentler times. But
did you want to quit during any of it? Or never, or you just have that type of attitude?
And you know this, better than I do, but it's like I tell everyone, everything comes down to motivation. Your why is the only thing that freaking matters. Your why has to be strong enough than their ability to defeat it. And for me, I think where a lot of people, I've gotten this question a million times, why do people make this, selection, others fail, or so on and so forth? And the way I explain it is this way. A lot of people want to be ex-Rangers or ex-Navy SEALs. They don't want to be Navy SEALs. They want to be ex-Navy SEALs. They want to have that qualifier. They want to have that qualifier in front of their name, so when they get introduced, they sound cool or tough, or it's really about them proving something to themselves. They don't really want to do the job. And I've seen that. That's where I see a lot of people fail, is you just see it. You see that they're doing it for the wrong reasons.
But you truly wanted to do it.
I wanted to do the job, man. That was for me, the action was the juice. I wanted to be a ranger. I wanted to do that job more than anything in the world. So, I mean, I was probably annoying in basic training because I remember, I mean, basic training's ridiculous, right? But I remember being just so happy to be there. It was like a lifelong dream come true, that it just didn't really bother me. And again, I'm not saying, oh, it was so tough. No, it was just in alignment with what I wanted to do. And so I enjoyed it.
So when you become a ranger, how did you become a sniper in the ranger? And what qualifications make someone a sniper?
Yeah, so I had probably one of the worst jobs you can have as a ranger. So again, I'm all motivated. I get there, I show up, and now I'm a ranger, and I'm like, I'm going to be kicking doors, and I'm going to be like that image, that movie cool image in my mind. I'm finally there, and I get there, and they're like, all right, you're an assistant machine gunner. I'm like,
What does that mean?
no, I'm like, oh, I'm a machine gunner. No. You're an assistant machine gunner.
Put the bullets.
It means
Set it up, or-
that you don't carry the machine gun. You carry all the bullshit that goes for the machine gun. You carry the tripod, the T&E, the 2 spare barrels, and all the freaking ammunition except for a starter belt or whatever.
You can't shoot it.
But you don't shoot it. When it's hot, you change the barrel. It's the worst job. It's the most uncool job ever. At that time, I didn't even carry a rifle. I had a freaking Beretta M9 pistol. My main weapon was the barrel of another gun, and so
You could throw it at somebody.
yeah, exactly. It was, I mean, you want to talk about humbling experience, and so I spent, I don't know, over a year in that job. And, but it was good. It was good because it taught me a lot. It kept me hungry. It kept me wanting more, and it taught me how to carry a lot of weight. I mean, my ruck would be over 100 pounds. 1,000 rounds of 7.62 linked is 77 pounds, and we would carry. I would carry around 800 rounds plus the tripod T&E, which was 30 pounds, whatever. It was a shit ton of weight. My ruck would be over 100 pounds. Whenever we did movements, and so that really set me up for success later, but. Eventually I was like, okay, I got back, I went to Ranger School, I got finished with Ranger School, and I was like, I am no longer going to be an assistant machine gunner. And a sniper selection internal in Second Ranger Battalion at that time happened, and I went, and I was selected to be a sniper. And that job, again, as I said earlier, it was awesome. I enjoyed every minute of it. And eventually September 11th happened. I was a sniper team leader then, and then I deployed to Afghanistan as a sniper team leader.
So to become a sniper, do you have to hit, consistent from a certain distance?
What do you think is the most crucial part of becoming a sniper? Like, what do you feel is I'm sure there's certain things that you have to really master. There's a combination.
Yeah, but I would say, I think the default is still the same, which is an absolute passion to do the job. Because once you have that passion, you'll put in the time to learn. At that time, dude, sniping the joke of sniping is that it's weaponized math. It's algebra. Now it's all computers and things like that. But back then, we were estimating range, on site. We were doing the calculations for bullet drop, on a piece of paper. Maybe we'd have a calculator, but it was a lot of math. And so there was a lot of skills, but I think mainly it was just an absolute, it takes a person that wants to be the best at whatever they do. And I've always been that type of person. When I was a dishwasher at Sbarro's when I was 16, I wanted to be the best fucking dishwasher that they had. Why? Because I was doing it. And I kind of look back and think, man, I put a lot of effort into, it was a waste, but anything that you do, in my opinion, is worth doing well. And I think the biggest thing that'll make you good at any job is just if you have that mentality of, if you're going to do it, then you're going to do it to the best.
Is there a distance that you could hit accurate from?
Well, at that time, so again, the range of weapons then is very different than now because of just the changes in technology. But, back then, if you were shooting a 308 or a 7.62 at, 1,000, 1,100 yards, that was, 800 yards was considered the limit, the effective range on a point target of that system at that time. Now, double that easy. So things have changed dramatically, far as the technology and not just the technology, but the ability to do the math. Everything's changed. So the ranges have, more than doubled than what they used to be.
So at some point in your career, how did it happen to where you got into the Delta side of things? Because the average Joe always thinks that the SEAL team is the highest level, and those that really understand the military know like Delta Force is the most elite of the elite in the world.
Well, it's again, it comes back to each unit was created for each special operations unit was created for a special mission. And there's 2 units in the U.S. military created specifically for counterterrorism missions. And one is, the Navy side, and then the other is the Army side. And those are the 2 counterterrorism or CT hostage rescue units. And on my deployment to Afghanistan as a sniper team leader, my sniper team was assigned to a unit team. Basically, they didn't, Afghanistan, everything was open, huge open areas. And the team that we were on the Pakistani border at that time, and there was a unit team there, and they didn't have a sniper team with them, and they were doing stuff. So they were like, hey, we need to bring a sniper team with us. So they took my team because we were co-located at the same fire base. So I started working with those dudes, and I'm like, this is what I want to do, right? This is the type of people I want to work with. This is the job I want to do. This is my dream. And so after working with that team on that deployment, when I got back from that deployment, I was like, that's where I'm going to go. So I put in a packet. There's this big myth that, oh, you're recruited and they, slip an envelope. But no. It's not that cool. You have to find them. They don't find you. They don't care. And so I put in a packet, and which gave me the ability to go try, just kind of like when I joined. I was lucky that I made it, the selection course in my first try. Usually, I think it's only 30% make it in their first attempt. And so I think I was 25 at that time. I was pretty young, which was kind of unusual then. And so I went over, and I've said it this way. When I was in Ranger Battalion, every once in a while I would do something that was like movie cool, right? Where it's happening. I'm like, dude, this is like movie cool. When I got over there, it was movie cool every day. Every day I was like, dude, this feels like I'm in a fucking movie. And so I was really, really happy there. It was literally, I was living my dream. It was my dream job, and I was living that, and everything was amazing until it was over.
Are you allowed to talk about, like what you have to go through for like the training to get into that? Because you hear stories like it's
and how
ridiculous.
deep is the team? I want to know, like you mentioned team, is that something you can say, how deep the team was when you said your team?
Sorry, what do you mean by deep?
Like how many people were on your team?
The numbers are, I'll say this, the numbers are way smaller than you'd think. People would be shocked.
Because you talk about the qualifications and what it takes, and people that, I want to do this, right?
Yeah.
Some people can go to that level, right?
It's no, in my opinion, it's no different than what you did, in the sense that
The elite.
Yeah, but like you couldn't, and again, you tell me, you know infinitely more about this than I do, but I don't think you could be on the Olympia stage. There's no way, in my opinion, just like the Olympics, it takes a certain attitude and ability to be your best.
Yeah, you're going to be fucked up in order to do what we do.
Exactly. But it also takes some kind of genetic,
of course,
predisposition. And if you don't have both, you're going to be at some level, but you're not going to be at the top. Michael Phelps wouldn't be Michael Phelps unless his body was designed for swimming, right? And so to get to that level, it takes a combination of both, some genetic predisposition and then an absolute, probably not so, and a brain that works a little bit differently and probably is a little bit off, And I tell it this way, it's like the reason people suffer from such an identity crisis when they get out is because there's no way that you'd be able to get to that level unless it was your identity. You know, there's no way I would have gotten to where I was unless I had made that who I was. And so when I lost that job, I mean, I had to be the job to get the job. And then therefore, when I left and lost the job, then I didn't know who I was anymore. But it took that, it took me making it my identity to get there in the first place.
So can I ask this? Like, listen, a bodybuilder's shelf is like a 10-year thing. You talk about these missions. Is there like a number, or is it just it just varies? Like how many missions can like someone go on? Like, how deep does it go?
I mean, it all depends on, you know, I have a buddy, which I won't say much more about, but he just got out. I mean, I don't know what his number is, but it's
a length of time.
He was in for, he probably has over 1,000 missions. He has to. He just has to. I've never asked him specifically, but
that's a lot, man.
Yeah, and I mean, but also there's a luck factor. Don't get me wrong. Like if you look at like, you know, people that were in the 90s, there's no war going on. You know, when I was in Iraq, we were doing sometimes up to 5 assaults a night. You know, so that's 5 assault missions that night. Now, granted, that was rare. But we were going, I remember, you know, the deployment I got hurt on, we were literally doing missions every single night, except if the weather was bad enough that the ISR couldn't fly, or the helos couldn't fly. Other than that, we were going out. And so, you know, if you got the right, if you were in during the right time and just all the factors kind of stacked up, you know, there's guys with, you know, again, over 1,000 missions and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and it all depends.
So on your off days, because I know Jay asks us a lot, like, what do you do like physically? Did you go train still? Like, talk about like your gym, because I know you had told me you love training your whole life.
Oh yeah, my whole life since I was 12.
Explain when you get at that level, and especially when you're traveling around the world, like, what's your food like? What is your training like outside of like working out? Like, what is that?
Yeah, the food I think always could have been better. They could have put more effort into that, in my opinion. You know, it's like living, I remember being in Afghanistan, you know, eating MREs, you know, and I'm just like, dude, like they expect us to be in shape eating this shit. You know what I mean? I'm like,
is everyone in shape?
Oh, at that level, yeah. Oh yeah. I
like
mean,
they're like machines.
Oh yeah. At that level, at the tier 1 level, yeah. You like, there's one guy I'm thinking in particular. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened with this dude's genetics, but he could be eating MREs every day, you know, just the worst food. And he looked like a Greek god every day, no matter what he did. I know, guy was a specimen, but there was a lot of guys like that. And, you know, the higher you get up in the, you know, eliteness of the unit, you just start to kind of, really, it's about being with guys. I liked being in a unit where I felt everyone was better than me. I was every day there. I was sprinting to catch up to the people around me, and I loved feeling like the worst person there, because that's what made me better.
What type of like talk about?
Oh, sorry, you said training. Yeah,
like working out and stuff.
So at that time we were on a reverse cycle. So, you know, like in Iraq, we were doing our missions only at night. You know, we couldn't operate in the daytime. The helos would get shot down. So we only worked at night. So generally I would wake up at like, I don't know, 3 p.m., something like that. Usually have breakfast, and then generally hit cardio, and then, you know, do some kind of work stuff, build explosive charges for that night, or, you know, train on something, do some relaxing, read, play Xbox, something like that. Then train again in the, you know, the afternoon, which would usually be around, I don't know, 8 p.m. And then we were going out. Generally, we'd do a mission brief about 9 p.m. and then usually go out around midnight. Was kind of the return between 2 to 5 in the morning when the sun came up, and that was the cycle. And again,
did you weight train?
Oh yeah, cardio in the morning, weight train in. So
you did like what, like running, or you did cardio like on I don't know, treadmill or bike or
Yeah, it depends. Running's really big in the military, or
know
at
it
least
is
it
big,
was
that's
then.
why I ask,
Yeah, I don't know.
doesn't work in bodybuilding.
Now,
but-
yeah. No, but I mean, like, I'll tell you a story about running. Well, I'll tell you right now because it's kind of funny. So the first mission that I ever did with a unit was we got briefed. We flew into country, and they briefed us on the plane. They're like, "Hey, we know where these hostages are. You know, you guys need to do this mission straight off the plane." So we started prepping on the plane. I think mid-flight, we started getting ready for it, and I was relatively new there, so yeah, you're still trying to figure out the other people. And we land, we go do this mission. I'll never forget because it was my first one. I remember stacking around this house, and I was on a door, and they were putting a charge, I think, on the door behind me. I can't remember. And somebody opened the door, heard something or whatever, and they opened the door. And then, I had to go. That was it, right? And so that started the assault. But what ends up happening is we had what's called squirters. People squirt, run off target, right? So we had 2 of them run off target. And, we got to go get them because, we can't just let them go. They could have been the people we were there looking for. So they're like, "Hey, we got squirters." And this one guy's like, "I'll go." And so me and, my teammate was like, "I'll go too." I mean, we knew we were going to have to run after these guys. At the time, I knew that I was a strong runner for the military. Let me be very clear. I was a strong runner for the military. So this guy's like, "I'll go." My buddy's like, "I'll go." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go too." I needs 3 people. So we start running. Well, here's what I didn't know. What I didn't know is that the first guy to volunteer to go get these guys wasn't just a good runner in the military. He held the Badwater Marathon record for like 6 years. Do you know what that run is? It's where I think Goggins has done it. It's where you run from the bottom of Death Valley to the top of Mount Whitney. It's like the most insane marathon there is. And this guy held the record for like 6 years. So, dude, we're running, and the ISR is tracking these guys in IR. They don't know, but there's a big spotlight on them. They think they're, no one can see them, but literally there's a spotlight on them that we can see through our night vision. And I'm running, and dude, I don't know how long we ran. And now, again, by the way, I'm not running like now. I'm in full kit, full assault kit, fucking body armor, helmet.
A lot of weight, yeah.
Dude, I got probably freaking 80 pounds on me, right? And we're running, and this dude is running at like damn near a sprint for a solid 1.5 miles. And I am dying, but I'm new. So I'm like, dude, I cannot fail. I am the backup to these guys. And dude, I am running. We get to these 2 dudes, and I'm about this close to puking, right? I'm like, and I've got to like put my gun up and support them while they go grab these guys. And I mean, it was just one of those moments where that was where I was like, man, this is, like I'm at the top now. You know what I mean? Like I gotta train more. I gotta do better to keep up with I'm at another level of I'm at another degree. I can't, how to say it? I need to work harder every day.
You thought you were in great shape.
Yeah, I thought I was great, and I'm like, dude, you're not great. You need to catch up because these people are all way better than you. So,
I love the explanation because when we talk about cardio, people ask me all the time about that. Do you run? I said, no. I would get smoked, running, just because cardio and bodybuilding cardio is much different. It's just about moving the body and creating some sort of rise in the heart rate.
Yeah.
But
It's going through my head now, that expression he made, like, that's how it'd be if we were in the street.
We would run a lot because running was important. I was also big on the bike, like sprinting on what are they called?
assault bikes.
Yeah. Well, it was what the hell are they called? Like a Le Mans. What's the hell the name of the bikes? Like
I know, like the racer bikes.
Yeah, like a racer bike. Yeah. So I did a lot of biking, a lot of running.
But weightlifting.
I've been weightlifting since I was 12 years old.
Everyone in the military just squats and benches and deadlifts and.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know if they get really specialized because equipment's a little limited usually when you guys are stationed somewhere, especially in transit, right?
Yeah, I mean like when in Afghanistan. I mean, I was in Afghanistan in 2002. Like there was we were making our own. It was like a jailhouse gym. You know, we were making our own stuff out of wood. We had nothing. And so that was very difficult to work out back then. By the time Iraq happened, there was a lot more infrastructure. And so we had like a gym and we built that over time. I was just at my old work, and their gym now is world class. You know, it's like the new tech gym we went to. It's world class. It's amazing. And, you know, basically the military is finally, through my old organization, is kind of figured out, like we started training with NFL teams and seeing their like injury prevention and, you know, cause all the military cares about is you stay in the game. That's all they care about. As long as you stay in the game and you're able to keep operating, that's what's important to them. And so, you know, the injury proofing is less about your health and more about, you know, keeping you operational. But we've really kind of copied that model now, and it's pretty scientific and pretty well built out.
If I could ask you, like I have years, like, you know, this wall shows a lot of my accolades here. We mentioned the missing hand. Everyone keeps talking about my missing hand. I know it's behind, it fell off. But like I had pinnacle years, you know, like turned pro in 96. You know, my first Olympia was, you know, 99. I won my first championship of 2006. I, you know, lost, came back in 09. What are some like figure years that you can, like you just mentioned 02. Mm-hmm. Like, are there certain years that you spent that like that stand out to you, or is it just it's pretty much a steady time? Because you talked about, you know, you went to these different places like Afghanistan and all these things. Was there like certain years that stick in your head as like kind of areas of thought? Not
in the military. Really, all of that started when I got out, you know. The military was easy. And I know that probably people are like, what? But it was, you know, the military was easy because, yeah, it was, the effort was hard, but the structure was there. I don't care what you want to do in the military. They lay out the steps on how to do it. I mean, there's literally a manual on how to, the hygiene manual literally breaks down brushing your teeth, like put toothpaste on brush, take brush, move up. I mean, it's that detailed. And so the structure of the military, yes, it requires effort, but it's effort within a very laid out structure. And then one day you get out and the structure is gone and you have to build it yourself. And that, I think, at least for me, and I think a lot of veterans, that's the hard part. We're okay with the effort, but we struggle with the structure.
Of course, yeah, because it's routine, you know. So, like, what was your range of? So you joined in what year?
Yeah, joined in 97, and then got out pretty much 07.
Okay, so 10 years.
Yeah, just under. Yeah.
And so you said you joined at 19.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, you know, with the service, you know, you talk about the structure. Did you have, and I don't know if you can answer this, did the guys, like you mentioned, I don't know about my teammate. Like I'm trying to read my teammate. Were there some tension even with the elite groups?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're competing at you're competing.
Because you got to, at that level, I mean, I mentioned the ego when we started because I'm thinking, you know, like the military, I wanted to be a cop. You know, I went to school for criminal justice, and I'm like, my ego got me in the gym to be like, hey, I have to be a little formidable because I want to intimidate. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's what I thought. So the question is, and listen, I visit military bases. The branches argue. The Marines say they're better. You know what I mean? So, and it's kind of funny. I kind of joke about it with them because I'm like, oh, I was at the Navy last week, and they're like, oh, those guys. You know, there's different thoughts.
Yeah.
So my question is even at that elite level, are there some quarrelsome times? Obviously not when things are in the moment, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll for me personally, that was the big negative is at that level, you're competing about everything all the time. And I didn't like that personally. I just don't care. Dude, you win, you're better. I don't give a shit. I honestly don't.
I know, but there's a leader. There's got to be someone that's like, this is
The
our
alpha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
has
mean,
to be, right?
There's somebody in charge. But here's the one thing that the unit does well that very few other organizations do. And I'll use a story of one of the first missions that we did. My team leader, I was brand new, and he gives us the plan. Okay, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm listening. And he turns to me and he goes, what do you think? Any ideas? And I was like, good. I'm good. Yep, I'm good with it. And later I went up to him. His name was Pete. And I said, Pete, why did you ask my opinion? He goes, what do you mean? It's a great impression of him, by the way. What do you mean? And I was like, well, you asked my opinion afterwards, why? And he was like, because you're here. You wouldn't be here unless you were worth asking your opinion. Just because you're new doesn't mean that you don't know something or don't have a perspective that isn't important, or maybe something I've missed. Just because I've been here 10 years and you just got here doesn't mean that your perspective isn't important. And I'll never forget that. That was a very important leadership lesson. And I think that's one of the things that made that place great, is that everyone has the ability to contribute.
You mentioned getting out around 2007, and obviously you got hurt.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what happened and what happened with your injuries?
Yeah. So kind of, as I said, I'm doing the job, my dream job, living my dream life, living, again, I think the best way to say it is I was living what I felt was my purpose in life. This was who I was supposed to be, right? And everything's great. And then one night we're doing a assault. And one thing about my old unit is we wouldn't just go out and look for trouble. We are definitively targeting people. So the brief at 9 p.m. They're going to put up, a dude's image. They're going to put up pictures of his house. They're going to put up all this information. They're going to, basically do a resume of the bullshit that he's done. He built the VBIDs that blew up so-and-so and this many kids and 8 Marines, whatever, right? Which is very satisfying when, those fucks, you're knocking down their door at, 3 a.m. and putting a gun in their face. It was a very satisfying job. And so that night, we do the briefing, and we did the mission. It was in Sadr City, Baghdad, which is literally and figuratively south central Baghdad. It's a shit neighborhood. And so we go and at that time we did what's called a vehicle drop off. So we basically, the dogs there would roam in packs of like 20 wild dogs, and they'll fucking eat you. Like they're not regular dogs. And so they're loud and they bark. So we get dropped off and we're walking into Target. So we're just walking at, 2 a.m, whatever, through Sadr City, which is a hornet's nest. And I can't explain why we were doing what we were doing, but we were essentially looking for a house-ish. And the guy was like, it's this house. Hit this house. So we raid that house. And over time, you develop a feel for kind of like cops, right? I could tell when I went in a house if they were guilty or not. If you go in and the wife and kids are going ape shit, it might be the wrong house, because they're like, why the fuck are you here? Get the fuck out of my house. But if you go in there and the wife and kids don't say a fucking word, it's because they know. And dad's up to his bullshit, right? Wife and kids just don't say anything because they know why you're there. So we hit this house and the wife and kids are going, bananas. And I'm like, I don't think this is it. So we were there for, 20 minutes, something like that. And I remember getting called out. My team, come outside. So we go outside, and I think there was 3 teams they had called out, and they were still, interpreter was still dealing with that, trying to sort it out. But they called out 3 teams, and we start walking, and they're like, I think it's this house. So a SEAL team, because we had a SEAL team attached to us at that time, a single team, not a whole team, started to go around the front side, around the house to go to the front side, and my team went to the back side. And I was a breacher at that time. I don't remember how I might have picked the lock. I don't remember, but somehow I made a silent entry, not an explosive entry. And we go inside, we start clearing. I think I cleared 2 rooms. First room was empty. Second room had a guy in it, and dealt with him, and then came out. And then me and 2 other guys started going down a hallway. And we get, I don't know, 2 steps in the hallway, I don't remember. And the whole hallway just explodes with gunfire. The most intense gunfire I could feel the concussion from the AKs. Like, that's how close it was. You know, probably 2 AKs at full auto from, I don't know, 3 feet away. They were shooting through the wall, and I mean, just everything was going like like in the Matrix, you know, where all the shit's just exploding. And the guy next to me was like, I'm hit. I think he got shot 3 times. Don't quote me on that. And so obviously we didn't keep going. We backed up because we would have for sure died. At that time, they had also, I want to say there was either 6 or 8 guys in that room. Again, I don't remember. But they had also started shooting out of the front windows of that same room, and I think had shot either 3 or 4 guys from the SEAL team got shot on the front side of the house. And so we had, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 casualties like within 2 seconds. So we were in the hallway, and the way the tactics kind of come down to terrain. It's like real estate, location, right? And we were just in a shitty tactical situation. It was a hallway, and at the end of the hallway was a door on the right side. And so, it's not like we can, curve a grenade into that room. The only way to get a grenade in is to go up to the edge and throw it in there. And so the guy next to me, who happened to be the guy that was the runner from that one mission, I was like, hey, prep a grenade. We made a quick plan that he was going to prep a grenade, meaning like have it ready to throw, because you got to pull off the tape and the pin and then, whatever. And then I was going to shoot basically to get us close enough to where he could throw the grenade in. That was the plan. And then I remember looking at him. I remember looking down and seeing his hand on the grenade. And then the next thing, I know, just my whole world exploded. And I either got blown into the wall or up into the ceiling and corner of the wall. I don't know. But the best description I've come up with is it felt like getting Hulk smashed. It felt like the Hulk grabbed me and just, it's hard to describe. But I felt small. It made me feel so small and weak, the power of it. And it blew off my night vision, because it was at night, I was wearing night vision goggles. It blew off my night vision goggles. It blew off my Oakleys. It blew off the night vision mount, destroyed my gun, and, blew off, or about half of my right arm. So if you can see from, here to here, and this was so much of the bone was blown off, but I didn't see it yet. But because the ulnar nerve was severed, it felt like my arm was blown off. And I know that sounds weird, but it felt gone. And me being a movie fanatic, I remember flashing back to like the Saving Private Ryan scene where he's like searching for his arm. So I like felt around for it. I mean, I don't know what I was doing. And then I just remember being like, and there was a massive gunfight going on, and I could hear it. I could sense it. It was like I was in another world, but I knew what was happening. And so I was like, I need to get out of here. And I couldn't see anything. And so I got up off the floor and I walked to the door, and I remember there was a porch light, and I remember looking at my arm. And again, it was only attached. If you see this and this, so it was only attached by this piece of skin. because all the bone was blown off. So it was barely just hanging there like a piece of meat at a butcher shop. And I remember looking at it and going, well, that's gone. Like it's gone. And then that was when I realized, I'm like, I've got an arterial bleed. Blood was squirting out, and I was like, oh shit, like that's not good. And I remember very specifically, time slows down. I remember very specifically thinking, you've got an arterial bleed. You've probably got, a minute, under 2 minutes, maybe a minute and 30 seconds now before you bleed out enough to where you're going to die. Maybe not right that second, but you're going to hit a threshold where they're not going to be able to save you later, right? And I remember having that awareness, and I remember thinking, okay, your right arm is gone, but you should probably take care of that or you're going to die, and that would be stupid. I remember that thought so clearly. That would just be stupid. Why I use those words in my head, I don't know. And so when I had come in, I must have used ladders to get over this wall. I don't remember it. But there was this wall in the compound that was at least 6 feet, actually more, 7 feet, 8 feet high. I saw the wall. I'm like, that ain't happening. There's no fucking way. So I just turned around, put my back against the wall, and slid down and tried to get my tourniquet. And it just was not happening. I was fumbling around with it. I finally got the tourniquet off, and I wouldn't have got it on, period. I think I had got it opened. I don't remember. And I got to the point where I was like, literally, I was like, you're probably going to die. Like, I don't think I can save this. I don't think I can save myself. And I had this really weird, which I won't get into. I detail it in my book, but I had this really weird moment where I was not a religious person at all. And I had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is when you become religious. Like, this is when spiritualism happens and you suddenly convert. And I was like, so excited. And then I remember going, no, it's not there. And then I remember thinking, if there is a God, I think he would respect the fact that I didn't just suddenly become spiritual and religious and try and save my ass. If there was a God, I think he would respect the fact that I stayed to the fact that I wasn't spiritual and I held true to my convictions rather than suddenly converting. I'm like, yeah, I think he'd be down with that. Just the weird logic at the time. And I just remember being kind of like, okay, if that sends me to hell, then I go to hell, because I'm not changing. And I think he would understand that. That was my logic at the time. And then probably within 10 seconds, now what are the odds of this? Within 10 seconds, a guy comes out of the house who happens to be the team leader of the team that I was assigned to in Afghanistan.
When you were a ranger.
When I was a ranger. What are the odds of that? I mean, if you knew how small, they're like 1 in a billion. He comes out of the house, comes to me, and puts the tourniquet on my arm and saves my life.
Wow.
What are the odds? And then, eventually I got, the only consciousness I lost was when they couldn't get me obviously over the wall. So they eventually had to move me through the house. And when they did, I passed out from the pain of that one. And then I was eventually medevaced on a Little Bird helicopter to the Baghdad, hospital. And then I was there for, I think, 12 hours, bunch of surgeries, or like one major surgery, sorry. Then I went to Balad. I don't remember if I had surgery there. And then I went to Germany, and then I had a bunch of surgeries there, and then eventually back to the US. And then, eventually, because of that, was medically retired.
Wow.
And you talk about this in your book.
Yeah, I detail, pretty much all this in the book. I mean, I break down everything, obviously in more detail, but, it's funny because I've told that story probably 24 times, and I've heard people say, wow, you tell that story with, it's like you're telling a story of someone else, like it didn't happen to you. And like, almost like it's a positive. And I try and tell people, I'm like, no, you don't understand it. I'm not tough. I just shut off my emotions so long ago, which is really what the book's about. Like I shut off my emotions as a kid because feeling hurt too much. So I just stopped feeling. And I still am trying to learn how to turn that back on again. So it's not like I'm tough and blah, blah, blah. It's that I can tell that story because I don't connect to it. I don't feel it. It doesn't bother me. That's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. I probably need to somehow connect to it better, and maybe I will one day. But right now it's just kind of feels like I'm telling somebody else's story.
I know you mentioned I listened to one of your other podcasts. You were talking about PTSD.
Yeah,
you have theories on PTSD versus why you disagree with it.
Yeah,
and kind of talk about that a little bit.
Well, so my theory on PTSD. So I that night happens. I do years of surgeries, and I eventually get medically retired, and then I start having pretty serious mental issues. Without question, I was clinically depressed. Not in hindsight, not even debatable. I was clinically depressed. Also, what is, this is 2000, probably 9, 10-ish now. Definitely clinically depressed. I mean, I was in and out of surgery for about 4 years and couldn't work out for 4 years at all. And which was who I was. That's who I was. I identified by what I could do physically. So when I lost the ability
to do
what I loved, it was basically like losing myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I put all of my value into my physical ability. And so without that, I had no value. I didn't value myself anymore. And that wasn't what other people put on me. That's what I put on myself. And so because of that, I started to have some, mental issues. And I went to the VA and other, mental health practitioners, whatever, and they all said the same thing. You got PTSD. Let's talk about the night you got blown up. And I was like, because that's what PTSD is event-based. It's based on an event. And they want to talk about, the traumatic event. And I'm like, guys, I don't give a shit about the night I got blown up. I mean, it wasn't awesome, but I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't make me feel a way about myself. If you want to talk about something that's fucked me up, let's talk about my, ex at that time, or my girlfriend at that time cheating on me. That fucked me up way more than this mission. I don't care about that, but her cheating on me, let's talk about that, because that's what I'm struggling with. And for lack of a better, term, they just were like, no, you're in denial, and we need to talk about the night you got blown up. And now I know the why now. And the why is I didn't do anything wrong the night I got blown up. In fact, I fucking got an award for it. I did a great job, actually. It didn't make me feel bad about myself. It didn't tie into any childhood worth issues that I had. My now ex-girlfriend cheating on me made me feel unlovable. And that tied into my childhood worth issues, which again is what the book is about. So that fucked me up. Also, the fact that she cheated on me, I was like, it's because I no longer look the way I did. It's because I'm no longer able to do what I could do. I put all that into it. I put her cheating on me as my lack of value because I was physically different. That was me. And they didn't want to talk about it. And the reality that I know now is that PTSD is not specific to the military. It's not specific to combat. Anyone can have PTSD for anything traumatic. And nowadays, shit, that's anything. That's anything. So it's like if if PTSD, if anyone can have it for anything, then I don't think it can be our specific problem. And what I came up with is something called LTSD. As a child, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that assumes that you have pre-traumatic stress non-disorder, right? Because you can't have post unless you had a pre-condition. And so what I learned over time was that the assumption is wrong, because I grew up, when I was a kid, I never knew safety. My nervous system was activated all the time. I never felt safe as a kid ever. And so now it's called CPTSD, but at the time I made it up and I said, my childhood was so chaotic that my brain rewired itself to be calm in chaos, because that was the environment I was living in. And so when everything was chaotic, I was calm. However, when the environment became calm, I became anxious
chaos
and uncomfortable. And I needed to create the chaos in the environment to be comfortable again. And that's where I come up with LTSD. And that explained to me why I was doing what I was doing.
I want to ask you something. Just hearing this, I know how important working out to you is.
Of course, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Imagine if tomorrow you can't work out.
I always say this to you. I say, if I can't
Say
train, there's
I'd
nothing
die.
like, I mean, it's the most, you think of all these things and people look at this, and you have a lot of, like I said, you have a lot of accolades. Meaning, like, you have a lot of how you introduce yourself, right? Things that you do now, which we'll talk about. But like, my identity is still bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like, still what makes me tick every day is going to the gym. Physical. I need physical and like limitations. You have limitations, but you're still training. I mean, your arm, for what you just mentioned. I mean, walking in and meeting you for the first time. I mean, I shook that hand, right?
Yeah.
So it's still, you still can pick up a can, but limitations, right? I mean, I'm sure that's a lot of years of getting it back, right?
Yeah, I was telling Matt, it feels like 2 days ago, but it was yesterday. I was telling Matt a story yesterday. Like I said, it was 4 years of surgeries. And so what would happen was I would do a surgery, then I would have to do heal and then rehab.
Yeah.
And then like a little bit of time and then back
It's
to
just
surgery.
steps
It was a cycle of surgery, recovery, rehab, surgery, recovery, rehab. That went on for 4 years.
All right, take two. Hey guys, if you have not heard, I've launched my own TRT clinic. TRT Kingdom is now live. And if you'd like to schedule on consult or get more information, make sure you guys go over, check it out, and let us see how we can help with your health needs.
Click the link below.
Shit.
Say click the link below.
Okay. Click the link below.
And when that was done, and they wanted to do another surgery actually, and I just was like, no, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I don't want any fucking more. So I'll give you 10%. I don't give a fuck. I'm done. And then I remember doing, I'll never forget this. I remember doing like, what's it called? Rehab for like, it was like 3 months. And I remember like the last 3 weeks, I was literally fucking playing Connect 4 every day. And I'm like, I can fucking do this at home, and they did not want me to go to the gym. They were like, do not go to the gym. You'll fuck yourself up, blah, 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 blah. And after playing Connect 4 for 3 weeks, I was like, first of all, I got the game down. I don't want to play fucking Connect 4 anymore. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to the gym. It was an hour of rehab. So I'm like, fuck you guys. I don't care what you have to say. I'm going to go work out. Well, if you work out, you blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great. I don't give a fuck. So I went to the gym, and I'll never forget this ever in my life. It was in Summerlin. It was the 24-hour fitness. It was Andre Agassi's at the time. I don't even think it's there anymore.
It's by the roundabouts, yeah.
Exactly. And so I went there, and I will never forget this for as long as I live. I went in there, and I mean, I used to go to the gym, 4 years prior, fucking twice a day, right? It was my home. And I remember going in the gym, and I felt like a fucking imposter. I looked at everyone, and I just felt like they were judging me. Who's this scrawny little fuck? I'll send you a picture. I lost, I went from whatever, 200 to like 145 pounds. And I mean, in the hospital, I didn't leave the bed for 3 months. So, I mean, I shrunk
Shriveled,
to
yeah.
nothing. And, I remember going and I remember grabbing 20-pound dumbbells and I couldn't pick it up with my right arm. 20 pounders, which is like the minimum, at least it was. And I remember having to set it down. I remember going to the corner and, had I allowed myself to feel emotion, I probably would have cried. But I was still in, robot mode. But I just went to the corner and I just kind of sat there and just, I guess, mentally cried of just how far away from myself I was. And I just felt like an imposter in a place that I felt like a slave in a place that I used to feel like a king. And then the next day I picked up the 5s and used those. And then, maybe a month later I picked up the 10s and I just rebuilt it slowly over time. Now I can curl, 50s. I'm not saying that's a lot. I'm saying for me, it's a lot.
It's a weight I use, so that's a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even go that high anymore.
I did
it's
40s yesterday.
nice. Well, it's not something I should do.
Yeah.
Trust me. I can literally feel the metal in my arm bending when I do it. I think I only do it maybe once, every 6 months just to prove to myself I can, but,
It's your ego.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, I had somebody ask me, they said, does it hurt when you work out? I was like, yeah, every time. Of course. What do you mean, does it hurt? And they're like, well, shouldn't you not do it if it hurts? And I'm like, no, man, like that's growth. Your muscles are built by literally destroying them. Mm-hmm. And I think the brain is built the same way. You gotta destroy it to rebuild it, and it comes back stronger.
Let's talk about Hollywood.
H-Wood.
So you get out of the military, you go through all this, and then you pursue the second thing that you looked for in life.
Yeah,
is getting into the movies. How did that transition? Because obviously you've been in some pretty big movies. I see The Rock was in one of them.
Dwayne, DJ.
How did this happen? Because it's not like a guy can just walk in, hey, I want to be in a movie.
No, it was a long process. So, it was the other thing. So I was lucky in the sense that a lot of people get out of the military and they have no second thing. They've never thought about it or, whatever. I was very lucky that I had a second thing. I from a kid, and I'm talking probably fucking 6 or 7, I knew, the Hollywood thing. So when I got out, I was like, all right, well, time to do number 2. And I spent probably, again, I didn't have any formal education. I didn't know anyone. Not even a one-day film course, nothing. And I just started trying to knock on doors and call numbers and meet people. Social media wasn't big then. And I got in with a group and I met some people. It was just a long process of me putting myself out there and basically going, hey, I'll help you for free. Because no one at that time knew the value that I had. I had to do it for free. I had to get in somehow. And so I said, hey, I will technically advise you your film, whatever, for free. And luckily, I spent probably 2 years dealing with the worst people in Hollywood you can imagine, because that's who you meet initially. And I got taken advantage of left and right, all the bullshit that you hear about. It's a crazy place. It's literally just filled with sharks. And the one thing, there's only one thing worse than a shark. You know what's worse than a shark? A fucking pilot fish.
I don't know what that is.
That's the motherfuckers that swim around a shark and eat the shark's leftovers. They feed off of the shark's scraps.
So there's a bunch of pilot fishes and
a bunch of pilot fish, a bunch of sharks. A shark's at least a shark, but a pilot fish, fuck pilot fish. And so,
I've never heard someone get so angry over a pilot
dude,
fish.
it's just I'm thinking of what they represent. You know, those people who they're not a predator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They feed off the scraps of predators. I'll respect a predator, but I don't respect any animal that feeds off of a predator's scraps. And so I did that, and I finally started meeting, you know, some good people. And I met a guy named Rick, and really the first super legit job I got was on Snitch with Dwayne Johnson, and I was the tactical advisor on that. And I also had a very small role in the movie. But that was like my first, you know,
What is it?
real film that I worked
Snitch?
on. Snitch, yeah, it's Dwayne. He plays a dad whose son basically gets busted for drugs, and then to get his kid a deal, he's got to hook a bigger, he's got to hook a bigger fish to get his kid out of jail.
I don't know.
I actually
if I've
watched
seen
it not long ago.
Oh,
It's probably
okay.
about 12, 13 years old.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
one of his older films.
Yeah, it's one of his old.
It's a good movie, though.
Well, it's a serious role. It was one of his kind of first serious roles, and so I got a funny story about Dwayne too, because so for that movie, well, actually it was for a movie before that, but anyways, so I go to his house when he lived in L.A. So I'm at his house, and you know he's showing you see the sword from the Scorpion King, you know, and it was all cool, and then. Dwayne's like, yeah, my cousin's in SEAL Team 6. And I was like, really? Cool. And in my head, I was like, Dwayne Johnson's cousin is not in SEAL Team 6. You know what I mean? That was just like what I was thinking in my head. I'm like, sure he is, buddy. And so then we're like going through his house, and he's showing me all this different stuff. And then eventually we go to this one room, and there's this picture, and he goes, yeah, that's my cousin. And I look at the picture, and it's a legitimate, you know, I know what a legitimate photo, you know, from the community looks like. And I'm like, well, that's
Before AI.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, that's a legitimate photo of Dead Group for sure. And so I was like, huh, well, shit. So then I forget, they started doing something else, and I went outside for a minute, and I called a buddy that was in Dev Group at the time. I'm like, hey, it's fucking Dwayne Johnson's fucking, and he's like, yeah, his name's Ben. I was like, no shit. It's like, holy cow. So yeah, turns out that, his cousin was in Dev Group at the time, and he actually ended up working on the movie as well, and I met him, and we had a great time. But that was a funny story, because when he first told me, I was like, there's no way. What are the odds of that?
You know what? When he
I
said that, I
met
was
him
thinking,
actually.
No, when he,
I met Ben, yeah.
Oh, you met Ben?
Oh, Ben, yeah.
I was going to say, it always reminds me when someone comes up to you like, oh, my kid's a bodybuilder. He's as big as you.
Yeah.
Like,
I get it all
okay.
the time. You know,
Yeah.
I was Mr. Olympia, you know, 300 pounds in the airport, and like, oh, my 16-year-old son's your size, you know.
Yeah. You're like, yeah. Sure he is, buddy.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, cool story, bro. Let me tell you a funny gym story. So if you look at this kind of in with the shadow hits it, right? So I'm at the gym. This is now when I'm like working out a little bit. I'll never forget the story. And I'm working out at that 24-hour fitness. And this dude, you know, I'm looking at the glass or the mirror, and this guy like looks at me, and he's big. I mean, he's like professional or pro bodybuilder size. I don't know if he was. I assume he was, because he was huge. And he comes up to me, and I look over at him, and he goes, bro, how did you get your forearm so jet? And he stops in the middle of jacked because he sees my arm and how fucked up it is, and realizes that my forearms are not actually shredded. It's
metal.
They're literally shredded. And he's like, and he just hangs on this like, oh, you know, he doesn't know what to
fucked
say.
up, yeah.
So now, hopefully that guy listens to this podcast. Please tell us who you are. It's got to be someone you know.
He was a big dude. Yeah, it was so funny. And I was like, bro,
Likewise.
don't. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, bro, don't even worry about it. It was a funny story though. I'll never forget it. But yeah, it was, you know.
So was that your first? What was your first major role? Was it the CBS show?
Major, yeah, definitely that. I mean, I never intended to be an actor. I only got on camera because I made more money than being an advisor.
And the other question is, and I asked you this the other day, how does a Delta guy play a Navy SEAL guy in a TV show?
I'll tell you, it's very simple. You
'Cause
ready,
don't they-
you
they're
ready for
kinda
the
like
answer?
this. Okay.
You ready for the answer?
Yeah.
I had a hair and makeup team.
So, here comes the hate.
We always
here comes the hate.
no. That's a joke about. We always say seals have great hair. So no, but it's not like you look at seals aren't ugly. You gotta be. You gotta have a. There's a look. There's an aesthetic. No, I mean, look. Here's the thing I say about every unit, and I don't care if I'm talking about American soft units or fucking foreign ones, whether SAS or the German KSK, GSG9, whatever, French, GIGN, it's the same dudes. It's always the same dudes. The units are different and do different things, but the guys, the mentality, who they are, it's all the same. And that's why the soft units, always get along when they work together or meet each other. Cause, probably even a guy I know went and, did a bunch of interviews, back before the war with the Russian Alpha group, FSB, like the top Russian group. And he's like, yeah, dude, they're the same as us. You know what I mean? So when you get at that level, it's you're the same type of person from that country. And so when people ask me about the difference between SEALs and the unit or whatever, it's very simple to say. They can swim. I can't. I don't even float. I couldn't have been a SEAL if I, no matter what amount of effort I put in, because I literally do not float at all. That was never in the cards for me. I'm not joking. Yeah, I don't. I'll go straight to the bottom of the pool.
See, he's like being humble about it. But if we had a SEAL here, he'd be like, "We're the best. We're the best."
I mean, look, man. All that stuff. Dude, it's
at the end of the day, you're all the best in the world at what you do. Similar to what Jay was, he was the best in the world at what he did.
Yeah, talk doesn't matter either, man. It's like it just doesn't matter. I don't. At the end of the day, I know what I know about myself, and I don't give a single fuck to prove it to anyone. I don't care. I know what I did. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Great. Great. You could have done this. You could have done. Yeah. All right. And that's to me, there was a time when I wasn't that way. And you talked about the accolades, and I call it the trophy shelf. When I was younger, because I didn't value myself, and I didn't value myself because I grew up in a shit environment, and this is what the book's about. But I grew up, kids think that they're egocentric. They think that they're responsible for the environment. So I grew up in a shit environment. So I thought that I was shit, and I had no self-worth at all, zero. And I thought that worth, confidence, all those things, I thought that those came from what you had externally. I would look at other kids when I was younger, and I'd be like, why is that kid so confident? I'd be like, well, he's better looking than me. He's more athletic. His parents have money. Girls like him. Whatever. He's funny. Whatever. And that's what I thought worth and confidence was for most of my life. And so I got all those things. I got all those trophies, and I put them up on a wall, and I had, Delta operator, and I had this really beautiful wall of trophies, great shape, And then when I got hurt, the whole trophy case got fucking destroyed. I was no longer that job. I was no longer in great shape. I no longer looked the way I did. I mean, I was literally disfigured, in my head. I lost everything. And the last thing I had at that time was the girlfriend who was very pretty, and she was a stripper at Rhino. It's a long story. But at that time I was like, well, at least I have her, and my value is her. And she was with me before I got hurt. So I was like, she knows the real me. So when she cheated on me, that was the final straw. That's what broke me, because I was like, she knows the real me, and even she no longer wants either version. And that's what broke me. And again, I detail this in the book, and that's when I realized that the trophy case is it's great while it's up there, but as soon as it all comes down, if your value is the trophy case, once the trophy case is destroyed, so is your value and so is your worth.
Did you have that type of, as you retired?
No, I didn't, because I transitioned, and that's what I wanted to ask you is like, today, obviously, you wear this shirt. You have a lot of projects, right?
Yeah.
Does that hurt when you do that, or?
I guess a little bit.
Still have pain.
Yeah. My wrist actually doesn't have any actual problem with it.
So you have to move.
Yeah, but so what happened is I lost all my extensor tendons that open your hand.
Yeah.
So they had to cut my secondary ones. So I open my hand and close it.
But you can only go, so you can't extend.
No, I can only go. That's as far back as I go. So, you make it work. But
yeah. Talk about this. Wolves kill sheepdogs.
Yeah, so this was there's an analogy that was done by a person named Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman about it's called the wolves, sheep, and sheepdog analogy. And what it basically says is, the people are sheep and they don't want any part of violence, and the wolves are evil and they want to just harm the sheep. And the sheepdog is what stands between the wolves and the sheep. And this analogy has been, he wrote it on a book called On Combat, and it's been like the protector analogy used by law enforcement and even the military, all these people for a long time. The problem with it, in my mind, is that wolves fucking kill sheepdogs. It doesn't work with nature. What a sheepdog does is bark like a bitch and gets the shepherd to come out with a scatter gun, and that scares the wolf. But the sheepdog isn't fighting the wolf one-on-one and winning. Yeah, there's these things called, LGDs that are like specially bred. Okay, fine, fuck it, whatever. But let's stay with the general analogy, which is, sheepdogs don't fight wolves. Wolves fucking kill sheepdogs. And what I feel like has happened is that current society has warriors have been revered throughout society forever until recently. Only recently has society viewed warriors as unnecessary. Prior to the last 100 years, warriors were considered one of the most revered, characters or types of person within a culture, because they're the ones who, kept the tribe safe. And it's been like this forever. And now society is like, we don't need you anymore. And it's wrong.
It's weak,
It's a fundamental ignorance. It's a fundamental denial of the way the world really works. And I'll tell you what I learned when I went into combat, when I went to a war zone, Afghanistan the first time. What I realized is that what we don't know here, what we miss in a first world, high in society, is we don't realize that the way our society works only works this way because of the consequences that are put in place. As soon as you take away consequences, dude, people are savage as fuck. And not like wolves. No. Everyone is savage. When I was in Afghanistan, dude, you see it, man. There's no rules. And when there's no rules, dude, there's a story I talk about in a book where I could have shot this guy and I didn't because there was no reason to. But like, if I would have shot him and killed him, there's no fucking sirens. There's no 911. There's no CSI. Fucking shoot him. It's the middle of the desert. He dies and I go on my merry way. Maybe my commander would have been like, hey, did you shoot some dude? Yeah, he had a gun. Cool. It wouldn't have been a second conversation. It wouldn't have been a second conversation. And what people don't realize is, dude, when there's no rules and there's no consequences, people will do shit that we can't even fathom right now because we've never lived in a society that doesn't have consequences and rules. And I'll give you an example of a little window into it. Look what happens when an excuse is given. A team wins a championship, you know, some law enforcement officer kills somebody, as soon as the excuse is given, fucking
haywire.
pandemonium, and people do crazy shit. We only live in this little artificial environment that we do because of the consequences we have in place. But if they're not there, dude, people are fundamentally savage, period.
So one of the other things that I said on your resume is you're an inventor.
Yes.
And you've came up with something recently that's kind of causing a shitstorm in the
It's
industry.
pissed a lot
Talk
of
about it a
people
little
off.
bit. Maybe explain it to Jay so he understands.
Yeah, so basically the way pistols work, or pistol shooting works, is, you know, you got this post sight and then you got this rear sight, and we're taught, you know, to focus on the front sight, and you know, we're just taught to do it a certain way. And what I realized is that the way we've done it blocks half of the person we're looking at. And probably it would be blocking the part of the person that would tell us if they had a gun or not. So I was like, why are we blocking half of what we need to see? And then one day I was working on a film. It was actually Snitch. I was working on Snitch, and Rick went like this. I can't do it perfectly, but imagine a perfect L. And he went like that to what he wanted, the film he wanted, the scene he wanted to shoot on DJ or whatever. And I just went,
I can see it.
I was like, he can see it. He's doing that because he wants to see that. And I just was like, that's the solution. And so, I mean, it took me years to develop it, but I came up with this sighting system that works that way. And it's the opposite of the way we've always done it. And so I put it out there, and it flies, you know, it goes against the way it's always been done. And so the hate has, been pretty extreme on it, but I love inventing new stuff, and I love going contrary to the way it's always been done. You know, it's just like the wolf sheepdog thing. Like, I don't think that's how it actually works. I think if people really looked at it, they'd go, do I really want to be a sheepdog, or do I want to be a wolf?
If you want, you can show Jay, obviously show it's not loaded. And you can explain it so he understands, because obviously
Well, yeah, give me a regular one. A regular sight, because I have to show the. I have to show the.
you can just kind of point it that way. Just show that it's not loaded on the camera.
Yeah. So not loaded. Yeah. Not loaded. So basically, this is the way it's normally done with this thing blocking it. So if you look through it, you'll see it block. Yeah. This opens it up. Yeah. I mean, any person that's not a gun person looks at it and goes, well, that makes sense. But in gun world, it's like, you know, it's like you freaking, you know, said the world's made out of cheese or something. You know, people are going bananas. But
Well, they claim that the target is not, because it's you're kind of looking at that one slot, right? And that puts it. Would they say that it's not as accurate?
that's been one of the, actually, ironically, no one said that now that I think about it, which is really weird.
Because that's
that
what you would
should
think,
be-
right? Because that one
Yeah.
point would be.
Dude, it's so funny you mention that, because that's been my prepared argument this whole time. And no one has actually brought that up yet, which is so weird. The answer to your question is, and this is a much deeper conversation, but the entire term, like the whole concept of accuracy, really only applies to target shooting. When you're talking about gunfighting, there's no consistency. The
'cause
variables,
there's way too many variables.
There's way too many variables. The only way that the only way you would measure
and
accuracy,
adrenaline and everything.
it's-
right?
He was saying, some guy put a comment on there. Well, when you're in a gunfight, you have to. I forgot how you said it. You're like, dude, you're in a gunfight. You don't think about.
no, you don't. Yeah, no, he was talking about calling your shots, and I'm like, bro, like,
They watch too many movies.
and he's like, dude, how are you gonna call your shots? You know, and I was like, you really think people are calling their shots like, oh, I think that was high and to the left? Fuck no. Fucking just shooting the motherfucker until he falls down, and then
Just hope
couple
you have
more
enough.
times.
Just hope you have enough rounds. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like, dude, there's no time to think about that shit. But people don't know what they don't know, and it is what it is. I don't get mad at it. It's you can't take it personally.
He literally launched the company yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
So
yeah.
what is the website?
The website for that is saberdynesystems.com.
Yeah,
And then saberdynesystems.com, and it's we literally just came out with them.
Huge project for you then.
Yeah, it's
years in the making.
Years in the I mean, I probably worked on it actively for like 7 years. I say 13 years, but they sat on the shelf for 6. So, or actually, probably I worked on them for 6, and then they sat on the shelf for 7. So it's been 13 years since I came up the idea. I got the patent. I don't know how many years ago, but that's kind of been the next, the next avenue, and then promoting the book and everything. And for me now, it's just I'm at the point now where all I really care about, and I know you know this better than me, but it's like I just want to work with good people. Other than that, I'm like, I don't
Do you
really
still
care.
have the film? Do you still want to do film? I mean, you became an author now. I mean, you tell your story, but is it a passion still?
That's a great question. Yes and no. That industry is so messed up.
I know.
right
That's
now.
why I just said.
Yeah.
You said there's a lot, but there are good people in everything that you do. And
yeah.
If you, like
Yeah.
you said, you meet the right connects.
Yeah.
Everything is relationships, right? It's just like business. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you deeper into, personal relationships with some of your team members. And, when you guys all have this, you talk about the kind of like the mindset that it takes to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes that can be a sheltered place, in my opinion. I know for me, being a gym guy, I can enjoy being alone. I can enjoy not conversing and not. I'm a kind of. I don't want to say. Do I want to say antisocial or?
I
mean,
think
to a certain degree
introvert
you are.
maybe.
I'm very introvert.
Introvert, yeah.
I started as an introvert. I had to become someone because I get on the stages and I had to perform, right?
Yeah.
But in my downtime, I prefer to just be alone and just enjoy that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a switch for me.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
an introvert that can play extrovert when you
Yes.
It's not natural, but he's done it so long he's good at it.
Yeah. I think I'm probably an extrovert because I like what I'm doing now with the company. I love it. I love having a team. I love building the team, and I love working with the team every day. I mean, one of the things I liked about working in film was it's very much a team sport, and I love that. A bunch of people come together and work on a project for 6 months, whatever, and then they go.
Do you think you'd ever write a film?
I've actually written.
Okay.
I've written several films. I sold one to. I won't say who, but one of the biggest names. I'll tell you off camera, and you'll know who they are. But I sold a film to a very, very big person. I'm waiting for that industry to sort its shit. Kind of with this. It's just the business model.
Everything's gone to right to cable and
and
whatever now.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's streaming. It seems like big film. We haven't seen. I don't know. I don't go to the movies that often.
Well, no one does now. And,
Yeah.
and here's the thing about let's look at Netflix. Netflix, when you were making movies 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, obviously, to make money, a movie had to do good at the theater. And then it had to do good on DVD. Now, a movie is not going to the theater. So Netflix doesn't care if a movie is good or not. They just care if people watch it on the service. But the people are going to watch it because it's the only thing that's there. So Netflix, in my opinion, isn't really incentivized to make good movies because the business model is just to make another movie for people to watch and keep their subscriptions. It's not about making something good. It's about keeping subscribers. And I think that business model is fundamentally flawed. Or I shouldn't say the business model. The business model may be great. And the problem I have with Hollywood right now is the business has destroyed the creative, period. And until
Catches
the creative
up to you.
Until the creative comes back, I'm not interested. Simple as that.
Can I ask you this? You mentioned First Blood.
Yeah.
Are there any like really great movies? I'm asking you because I want to know what interests you. I mean, obviously you're a military background. I mean, so mention to me some movies that maybe were inspirational to you or you were intrigued by that you might have seen that off the top of your head that you like.
Recently or old?
Anything in general.
I mean, I think one of the greatest movies of all time, the greatest action movie of all time, I think is Die Hard.
Oh my God.
I mean,
That's his favorite movie too.
dude, Die Hard.
I had it in my movie room, you know?
Yeah.
And I was going to say Bruce Willis was like inspirational, but he didn't have a body, right?
Yeah.
But he was a
but
badass.
he was.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was
tough.
tough.
But but Bruce Willis played the guy that everybody identified with. And let me give you an example of why Die Hard is so good. And most people don't even realize this, but when I tell you, you're going to go, fuck, you're right. Bruce Willis in Die Hard gets his ass kicked every fucking scene.
He does.
And then he barely wins in the end. Through sheer
He barely
grit,
wins every scene.
Through sheer grit and tenacity, he wins in the end. And sometimes by luck, by the way. The problem with today's action movies is the action stars have such huge egos, they don't want to ever lose. So all they do is whip everyone's ass, and it's boring as fuck. Right?
So you think Steven Seagal and like those when he kicked everyone's asses?
Well, I've heard a lot of Steven Seagal stories, so it's
we
not
have,
exactly shocking. I've heard stuff that I'm like, are you shitting me? And they're like, no, that happened. I'm like, wow. No, I mean, I think Bruce Willis, we love Die Hard because he represents the everyman. And I think Bruce Willis did a great job of representing someone that we could identify with that was a hero, but who didn't want to be. And he wasn't a hero by his actions, or he was a hero by his actions, but he didn't want to be. He was a hero almost by default, which is, I think, what makes a real hero.
We were pretty young when that movie came out.
Yeah, it was 89,
like
so I was
88,
like
I think,
11, 13, 9, 10, 11. Yeah.
But you know what? That intrigued me because like I had a dream to move to California. You lived there, but in Massachusetts, like I need to go to Hollywood. To be, like as a bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, of
and,
course.
Like, I remember
Fucking
seeing
Arnold.
like,
I mean,
yeah,
shit.
of course. But I saw like, the Nakatomi Plaza, which was
the Fox
the
Studios, literally.
and that's like the guy who owned Gold's Gym was actually the architect for that building.
No shit.
Yeah, Ed
That's
Connors,
cool.
which he was on our podcast and talked about it. That was one of his.
He just emailed us today.
Yeah. So
Random.
It was pretty cool. And then but I'm like, wow, that's and Bruce Willis is in a relationship battle. He goes there and like trying to mend things with his estranged wife. So it relates to a lot of like, you do things for a woman, to try to like win and then you're dealing with that. And the whole film, like they hug in the end and like,
He's gonna
maybe they're
fight
back
terrorists.
together, right? Yeah.
You just said this, but I tell people all the time talking about storytelling. I go, what is Die Hard about?
Is it a Christmas movie?
I mean, it's definitely a Christmas movie. But you know what's a Christmas movie that no one ever talks about? Lethal Weapon 1.
See, I don't.
Dude,
yeah.
Lethal Weapon 1 starts in a Christmas tree lot.
Okay.
It's a Christmas movie. I don't care what anyone. It's the
South
next.
Africa.
It's the next. No, that's 2.
That's 2.
But the point that I'm making is, I ask people, what is Die Hard about? And they're like, it's about a terrorist, blah blah blah. And they always say this. And I go, no. That's not what Die Hard is about. Die Hard is about a guy trying to save his marriage.
Yep.
That's what the movie's about. Everything else is situational and just external. But the movie is about a guy trying to save his failing marriage. And that's what makes it so amazing. You have what the movie's about, the terrorist, blah, blah, and then you have what the movie's really about. And that's what makes those movies. I mean, I think the 80s and 90s were the golden era of film.
I just remember like when he mentioned, like your like one of your position, like your Delta Force, right? I think of Chuck Norris in that actually movie, Delta Force.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this is 100% true. When I showed up, I was like, where the fuck are the motorcycles with the missiles on them?
Yeah.
Like, where are they? And you know what's funny? Now they have motorcycles with fucking missiles
Sure,
on them. And I was like, shit, I missed that.
You're only 20 years too late.
I know, it's too late. I missed them. But yeah, I was like, where are the freaking motorcycles with the missiles on them? But yeah, Chuck Norris, I wish I would have got to meet him. But the dude, the Chuck Norris, like you said, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold, Sly. I mean, dude, action stars used to be action stars. And Bruce Willis didn't have the physique, but he had the attitude that you just wanted to be like
Plus,
him.
he had the one-liners,
Oh yeah.
Tell
Come-
him the story when after the Arnold, when the limo was outside.
Yeah, so I was, I just had won my third Arnold Classic. I was in Ohio, and at the time, Stallone had a company called InStone. It was like a supplement brand. He made really good protein pudding, actually. But so I'm walking into Morton's, just finished the show. I'm like, I want to eat a good meal. I knew it would be my last Arnold I ever competed in. I did 3 in a row. And so I'm walking into Morton's. All of a sudden, this guy, Jay, someone wants to meet you. Like, can you have a second? And I'm like, I just want to eat,
Yeah.
So he brings me over, and I walk over to the limo, but the door opens, and Stallone jumps out.
No
He's like,
shit.
I'm a huge fan, And for me, at 12 to see Rocky IV, and
dude.
that was
Must have been crazy.
I was like, oh my gosh, because I was 12 when that movie came out,
yeah.
and it was 85, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like Stallone, and we became friendly. He invited me. He was doing the Contender, which was filmed in Las Vegas, a boxing thing. Yep. So I went and visited him. I got to meet his brother and all that. So it's so crazy. And the same thing with Van Damme. I was in Gold's Gym parking lot, and I'm walking in the front, and this guy's like, Jay, and I'm like, oh, who's this? Who is this going to be? And all of a sudden he got close. I'm like, holy shit, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. He walks. He's like, I'm a huge fan. And this is like, I watch Bloodsport and all these things. So
classic
like,
kickboxer,
I knew it like brought me back to being in Massachusetts, being a kid, and being like, I just got to get to Hollywood. And here are 2 guys that I looked. And Arnold, it's the same thing with Arnold.
I can only imagine, dude. Red Sonja, I've probably seen Red Sonja 4,000 times.
It's like you look at those things, and then like we just had a great dinner with him a few months ago, and like he walked around and he's asking me like personal questions, and like we spend real time, not like he's probably the closest one I've been with, sit at a dinner table and listen to conversations. And I'm thinking, wow, how far I've come, right?
It's
because
crazy.
Dreams and aspirations of a small town kid.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding got me there, you know? So like we all have our avenues, how we got there. And listen, we all have demons on whatever drives us, right? I'm still like a super structured, bodybuilding gave me the structure.
Yeah.
So I was like, that really kind of led to all my success in business. And like I said, I was an introvert, now going out of my shell to have conversations with people, and now being someone that inspires, which you had to go through also, the inspirational message that you send. You've said a lot of things on this podcast that people would take into account and say, wow, it's inspirational for people. And I think that's like, in the end, I look at all this, right? This is one of my walls in my house, which every wall is plastered with different things, right? I don't walk in that room with the mindset like, wow, I'm great. I look at like, wow, this has triggered me to be that person that has inspired people to be better through dark times. Like so many people go through dark moments. Adversity is what drives us, right?
100%.
And I think that's the biggest message that I give people now is like, we don't wake up with a smile on our face and like, wow, I achieved this or that. I mean, we fight it every single day,
Yeah. I mean, again, I'll be 100% honest. What I probably need to do better is, well, many things, but what I'm definitely going to do better, I get really uncomfortable when people compliment me. If people read the book and it means something to them and they email me, I don't.
What do you write back?
I don't. And it's just so uncomfortable for me. And I know, and that's wrong. I shouldn't be that way. I need to do a better job of giving myself, like you talk about, like a wall.
You need to be transparent with your emotions in a sense.
Well,
you
yeah,
talk
I know,
about that. And that's
I know.
where
I know.
That's what you just sitting and speaking to you for the last hour. You have a hard time shedding emotion because you were trained
to have no emotion.
Or maybe that came prior to.
No, it did. And I mean, I shut it off, like I said, I was a kid, and it's what allowed me to do that job. But like for me, my wall, like I swear to you, my medals are, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you where any of my shit was. Somewhere in storage, in a box, in a garage, fucking Purple Heart, bronze, whatever. My uniform, I have no idea where that stuff is. It's buried because I don't have a wall. I don't have anything. I don't even have pictures up. And I think
maybe you should, because it was a part of your life.
I kind of listening to Jay, I'm kind of realizing that I've probably gone too far the other way, you know, and I've tried to so anti-hero myself and kind of like, no, I'm nobody. I've destroyed my trophy case so much that I never rebuilt it at all. And
they always say don't look in the past, but sometimes you do have to look back to see where you started.
Yeah.
And see how far you've come, but you still got to be able to look back, and it still has to be there.
Yeah, no, I know I need to do better with the book. To be honest, when the book came out, man, it made me so uncomfortable that I stopped promoting it. I stopped doing anything because people started messaging me and being like, dude, your story meant so much to me. And it made me so uncomfortable that I just shut off, because at that time I think I still didn't value myself. And the reality is that for 20 years I had a undiagnosed traumatic brain injury, and I only got that done recently. And I mean, you can ask them, when I came back from that treatment, dude, it was like a night and day, two different people. And I mean, prior to that, I did not value myself at the level I should have. And I thought it was, X, Y, and Z. And now I know that it was literal brain damage, and so many things that I thought were, my choices or my fault. It turns out that it was literally parts of my brain that were asleep. And once those got woken up, that's where that shirt came from. Is I was like, I'm a fucking wolf again. Like, I'm myself again. I felt like myself again. I felt like my pre-blown up self had suddenly woken up and had been fucking frozen in carbonite for 20 years, You want to talk about the all-time, what I thought a man was Han fucking Solo, dude. That was like my, Harrison Ford, that was who I based, who I thought a man was. But getting that treatment is really what kind of woke me up. And now I'm at the point where I'll respond to those messages, and I'll rebuild that trophy case, not to do anything but accept that.
Give us one promise.
One promise?
I'm going to ask you something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When this comes out, if people put comments in there, go respond to them. Okay. Start baby steps. Baby steps. All right.
Because
it's from this community that doesn't know you, and your story could help change somebody. Maybe they're going down the wrong path, and maybe hearing this, they might relate, and it could help somebody.
No.
That's all we're asking.
Yeah. No,
just go
I'll
put
do
some
it.
comments in there.
I'll do it.
If someone tells you to fuck off, you can say thank you.
I'm dealing with so many negative comments right now that a positive comment would be like, the negative comments are funny. I mean, I've gotten ones that I'm like, whoa, that is extreme. When somebody's like, they looked at my product and they're like, did your TBI make you retarded? I'm like, okay.
People are brutal sometimes.
I mean, dude, everyone talks shit over the internet. I'm like, say it to my face, motherfucker. Like, come on. Like, I don't think you'd say that if I was standing in front of you. Right. It is what it is, dude. People are going to say what they say. People are going to judge you. People are going to talk. And at the end of the day, what matters is what you think about yourself. And that's it. And once you're happy with yourself, and once you feel like, okay, I know who I am now, and I don't need to prove myself to myself anymore. I guess maybe once I got to that point, I guess I didn't feel like I needed to build my case back, but maybe I do, to just accept that it exists for, to help other people.
And then I'm gonna say this to Jay. I'm gonna put him on the spot.
Oh shit!
So one day, we're gonna go shooting with him, and you can have a Delta Force guy instruct you.
It'll be fun. I mean, shooting. Yeah. Have you ever, when was the last time you went? Probably a million years ago.
2013.
2013. You remember the date? What was it?
Yeah, because I shot it. I went to the strip gun club and shot for a documentary I did.
You get to shoot the big
I was
500.
I'll never forget. I was about 4 years old, and I was shooting. We had a lot of acreage, and my brothers took me out with a shotgun, and they're like, we were shooting woodchucks, out there, and it knocked me on my ass. I remember shooting. He's like, okay, hold it again. So I never forget, and it just They knocked me right down, you know, and they said, okay, get back up. But our house, like we drove around with the gun rack in the truck, and like you walked in the house, and it's like, you know, those boxes there, the guns were leaning up against the wall. Like it was
normal.
And we didn't lock our doors. We left our keys in our cars. That's the kind of like countryside we grew up in. Different world now, right?
I mean, you know, what's so interesting to me though about, you know, it's funny. Your story is, you know, I watched the Arnold documentary, and it's like it's the same story. You know what I mean? Ultimately, it's the same story, and
it's California from overseas. You went there from Boston.
But
chasing a dream.
Yeah, and it's just so. And I went there from, you know, I mean, Bakersfield, whatever, but still, it's still going and chasing that dream, and then you start to meet your heroes, and you start, you know, to work with people, and it's so strange. It's hard to, you know. I mean, you've done it where you start meeting. You know, I've had people that I looked up to have read the book and, you know, been like, oh man, like, you know, it meant X, Y, and Z to me. And I'm like, dude, I look up to you. You know, what are you talking about? Like, it's such an...
I used to go to auditions too, you know, and really? I remember they cast for bodybuilders, and I would sit there and I'm like, I want to be in Hollywood. And then it's like, I won a few times, and I'm like, my real vision is the bodybuilding thing. It's kind of like I put it on pause to focus on the bodybuilding. I looked at wrestling. I mean, I looked at all different ventures, but what I truly loved, like I mentioned, is the time in the gym. And then the stage was the platform that we were visible, right? But that wasn't the fun part for me. The fun part was in the gym, the trenches, building.
You against you.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, that's what I think. So you know, 2 past relationships, my former relationship was a IFBB wellness pro, and then before that, an NPC competitor. So I haven't competed, but I have seen, you know, I mean, I've been to 20 competitions or whatever. And, you know, the thing that I thought was so interesting, just seeing them, you know, prep and go through that whole process, is it really is a sport where it's you against you. You know, on the stage you're against somebody else, obviously, but really, you know, it's a sport, I don't think like a lot of others, where no one's there when you do your diet. No one's there when you make those choices to eat this or you know, to eat tilapia or not. You know, that's you on you. And I don't think people fully appreciate when they see the physiques, men, women, doesn't matter the category of the class. I don't think people really fully understand that the look is really not showing the physicality. It's showing the mental toughness and the mental discipline. I don't see a physique. I see mental discipline. And that's what that to me is what's intriguing about the sport.
Did you hear what he said? They don't see you eating the tilapia. You know what that really means? It's horrible.
It's disgusting.
No one says, oh, I can't wait to go eat tilapia. I don't know anyone that goes to dinner like, I can't wait to go eat that tilapia. You know?
Oh, dude, I
dieted. I said I'll never have fish again. Rarely do I have.
Once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
You'll still eat fish and chips though.
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah. Tilapia is such a tasteless
it's a bottom feeder fish.
It's not even a real fish. It was created by scientists.
It's a fake fish.
I know. Like you shouldn't eat it. It's like a Frankenstein.
I used to eat orange Ruffy, which was like a
and then you shit your pants like 3 minutes later.
Yeah, well, that's the Ruffy part, right? It's not the orange part, but that's the Ruffy part. It should be called brown Ruffy. But yeah, it's just such an interesting sport. I have so much respect for the sport because of that. You know, because of the mental discipline component.
How many days a week are you working out right now?
Generally 5.
Have you found a best spot in Vegas where you work out?
Well, he's been taking me around a couple spots, and
took him to Fit Club, took him to.
You're training at LVAC a lot, though, right?
Yeah, well, that's just where I started. You know,
close to you.
Yeah, but I actually
the gyms are pretty well equipped.
I mean, they're pretty well.
I trained for Olympias there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They didn't have all these other small.
Yeah, they didn't have.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the thing.
Gold's Gym was here, so I trained at Gold's.
I used to train at Gold's when it was Gold's. I used to train there every day in Henderson, and then it switched to the EOS or whatever, and then it switched to New Tech. Yeah. But yeah, I mean the new. I don't know what the name for them. The higher end gyms, whatever the term is. It's pretty cool that Vegas has them now.
Yeah, Lifetime's here. And I mean, there's a lot of commercial places, but there's also a lot of hidden gems.
Yeah,
which I know you're taking them to New Tech quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Different type of equipment, right? I mean,
dude, the equipment's amazing. I mean, it's
come
truly
a long way in 20 years.
Dude, it's truly world class, and it's really impressive. I mean, that workout we had, I mean, it was really,
Do you have a physique preference? Like, do you want to look a certain way, or do you look more at the health aspect at the age now?
That's a great question.
Like, I know now, like, we start getting, like, you know, it's like, hey, we want to be healthy, right? Heart function, all that stuff. But do you look at, like, do you look in the mirror and say, I want to develop more or be leaner?
Yeah, no, I never. I generally, I want to be. I probably want to be about 10 pounds bigger, maybe 15, but
So you still wanna get bigger.
no more than that. You know, I'm at, like, right now I'm like 205. I think if I was at 220, I'm, you know, 6 foot, you know, 1.5. But I think 15 pounds heavier, I'd be happy. You know,
I still want to get huge. Okay. See
And I want to get small.
yeah, I think
I'm down like
how much you weigh now?
50 from where I was in
Yeah,
November.
you were saying that. That's crazy.
I'm right at 237 to 240.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to see the outer walls of my abs, but I could probably pull another 15.
Yeah. I mean, look, I have good genetics. My dad worked out every single day until he was like 70. And then he just,
Are you motivated by people around you, like working out around people, or do you prefer to go to a quiet gym?
I like the energy.
You like some social
I like some,
being and-
yeah, I like
And
it.
he's
being-
trying to look at the chicks.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's, I mean, that's motivating. I'm like, she is motivating me.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, no, like I remember the first time, like I saw like a figure pro, a female figure pro up close. I was like,
Did you feel
fuck?
weak?
Dude, I felt so weak. I was like, how in the hell did she get her shoulders that? I was
Pretty
like,
round, yeah.
what the hell, you know? And then also like when they're also feminine, but like have bigger muscles than me, I'm like, huh. Yeah, but it motivates me. It motivates me to
You ever
work out
been to a
more.
Mr. Olympia show?
Yeah. I went to 2 of them. I
Okay.
went to the last one here, and I went to one in Florida.
Oh, the Orlando
Because
one.
my ex competed in the one 2 years ago.
When it
and
was
then, Yeah. Not as an Olympian. She competed in the amateur at that time, and she went pro later. But yeah, I mean, I mean, the Olympia, I thought the Olympia in Florida was 10 times bigger than the Olympia here. It was weird.
all under one roof, probably.
It's all under one roof, so it seems like
I'm sure this year they
okay.
expect it to be pretty decent this year. They got,
Okay.
you know, they're back at the Orleans and all that.
we got a lot more room for
the
more space.
Okay. Yeah. The Florida one felt bigger to me, you know? But I just think it's cool. Again, I love health and fitness. And so that whole world is just, you know, when everyone has, as I said, I've been working out since I was 12 in the gym. And again, because of my dad. And so for me, I'm lucky that I can, if I take 2 months off, but I go back for 2 weeks, I get, you know, I catch up pretty quick. And so for me, it's just like, I want to get bigger. I want to get healthier. I definitely put my health on the back burner for about a year, actually like 2 years. And so for me, it's now about, I want to get into the best shape of my life for my birthday. And that's my goal for the next 6 months, is to get in the best shape of my life.
One of these days, I told him one day we'll get a time when he can come get a workout in with you. One day.
Well, you probably work out at your house. Oh no, you do work out at a gym. That's right.
Yeah, I train at public. I like public gyms. I don't
Yeah.
think I'd ever have a gym at my house that I solely trained at home. I'm not into. I like to get out and.
So there's a little bit of extrovert there.
I don't talk. I go to a very private gym, so I don't really. But I just love leaving my house.
Yeah.
And not feeling like, because sometimes I'm stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I told you, my radius is small.
Yeah.
It's like office gym.
So it's like too small if you stayed at
Yeah,
home. For the
you're
gym.
kind of secluded a little bit, and I think
Yeah.
he goes through that same thing. I mean, he's more of a social guy than I am. Like he'll go out to do the dinners and all that stuff. But for me, like I'm a social on those weekends. Like I just did meet and greets in Florida, so I did 2 days, and by that time you want to shut off a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I have my weekends where I'm pretty social.
Yeah.
So I'm booked a lot, but I still I love the fact when people can tell me the stories. That's why, you know, to listen to what your background is, you don't realize how inspiring it can be to people to push through, and you go through a lot of dark moments that you're able to show those emotions. I mean, you get in pretty deep on a couple of these conversations, and it really shows vulnerability in a sense. where we all go through it, but like you've come out now and you're pushing every day to be better. And I think that can be very valuable to a lot of people, especially in today. That's why these podcasts are really, really great. I know you mentioned you've done quite a few, but I don't know how deep you've gotten to it with, obviously you tell a certain story, but like to really tell what drives you on a daily basis now, especially like next week, it's going to be something different. And then a month from now and 6, like you said, you're now, I'd like to get in better shape.
Yep.
But I go to the gym for stress relief. I go to the gym because like a hard day at work, I mean, you're launching your new business. There's going to be days that you're beating your head against a wall, right? There's hiccups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like the gym can be your savior for that. And I think that's really what I try to express to people is I found the gym at a crossroad at 18 where the family wanted me in the business. I wanted to do something on my own. And when I got in the gym, I'm like, holy, I'm really good at this. And I felt like validation of like, wow, this bodybuilding thing is actually, it can be something for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we don't know what our journey is until each day we live it and we keep pushing. And, it's just awesome you're able to come and share some of that with us,
Well, no, I mean, I appreciate it. I think, to your point, it's one of those things where I always say, if you want somebody to tune out, tell them how great you are. If you want someone to listen, tell them about how you've struggled, because we've all struggled. We all struggle, daily. And for me, it's like, when I hear people talk about their struggle, that's when I really, that's how we connect, is through shared struggle, not shared accomplishments. No one cares. No one cares what you've done. They care at what has been hard.
What's been hard and how you came out of it.
Exactly. That's what inspires people. And so I think a lot of people, at least like with social media, the term that I like to use is the problem right now in the world with social media is that everyone is comparing their blooper reel to everyone else's highlight reel.
Yeah. Everything's a highlight reel, bro.
Yeah. It's all
bullshit.
edited. It's all selective. It's all what they want to show. And your blooper reel because you live it, but you're looking at everyone's highlight reel.
Their life is better than mine.
Yeah. They're like, oh my God, everything's, what a great life they have. And you're aware of your life and they don't match. And the reality is, no, they don't match. They don't match because that's not real. And so I think times like this where we could talk and really sit down and put out our blooper reel rather than just showing our highlight reel.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anything you want to shout out at the end?
No, man, I'm good.
So where can people contact you?
You gonna put your cell phone? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who's asking. No, it's Instagram would be Tyler A. Gray with an E, and pretty much you can find my links to all my social media and everything on there. The website is Saberdyne, SABERDYNE systems.com. I think that's about it.
Facebook?
Facebook, I to be
Use
honest,
Facebook?
I forget. I have a Facebook, but I have that little link thing on Instagram that has all the links.
So once
but
they go there.
yeah, pretty much Instagram's the main. I need to build up a TikTok and all that stuff. But you've obviously built up yours, so
I don't give credit to myself. I have a great team, and like we talked about, we have a lot of great networks. So I mean, it's not my forte is social media.
Then your forte is
I'm allowing it.
Yeah.
But it's been very
challenging
you
at
said,
times.
Yes, it's challenging. Yes.
Then your forte is team building, sir.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. But Tyler A. Gray on Instagram, and you'll see my blooper reel because I don't post my highlight.
Let me
reel.
know what you guys think, and once again, we appreciate you coming on. And,
thanks for having me.
Make sure you guys check out the book, which we'll have to dig into that.
Actually, one other thing I'm going to add on that because I do want to say this: the audiobook I read myself, and it's one of the weirdest things I've ever done. Imagine reading a book.
But people love the audiobooks.
I'm very proud. I didn't want to do it, and people convinced me to do it, and now I'm glad I did it. So I read it as I put a little bit of my acting ability in it, and I read it as like if I'm in an argument with my ex, then I read it as the argument happened. And a lot
like
of
a movie book.
It is, and
Emotions.
I put the emotion into it, and I tried to put my headspace where I was when I was reading it. And like, there's a lot of self-talk, which is why they told me to read it. They're like, dude, it's you it's my destructive self-talk, which is a lot of the book. And they're like, if somebody reads that, it's going to sound stupid. I was like, fuck, you're right. So when I do my negative self-talk in the book, I read it how I hear it in my head. So a lot of people have really liked the audiobook. So and it's on Audible on Amazon. So Forged in Chaos on Amazon.
Make sure you guys check it out.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute honor to meet you and to be on this podcast. And can't thank you guys both enough.
We're out. 2 hours.